Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hotspur Huddle, where tonight, once again, I am joined by Wes. Wes, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, all good. Thank you, Holly. Looking forward to another excellent show because I know we've got some cracking bits lined up for the fan base tonight. But before we start, though, I just want to give a quick shout out to my friend Nelson, who did step in for you a good while ago now. But Nelson was due to join us tonight, but he's just had surgery on a wrist injury, which he did and sustained whilst playing football. So, Nelson, if you are watching or listening, get well soon, and hopefully we'll see you on the Hotspur Huddle really soon as well.
Indeed, yeah. Speedy recovery, Nelson. It'd be great to get you on sometime soon, but obviously rest the wrist first. Don't rush back too soon. But no, Wes, we've got a lot to dissect. But first, before we get into it, let's talk about who this show is sponsored by, and it is sponsored by
Kickoff Football Academy Milton Keynes, which is my football coaching business in the Milton Keynes area, Dele Alli country, for those people that do not know where it is. So Kickoff Football Academy Milton Keynes is a football coaching business, and we help young boys and girls basically to get better at football. Is the easiest way I can describe it. We've got lots and lots of different sessions that we run, one-on-one sessions, our academy. We do birthday parties, all sorts pretty much. So if you want to get involved and send your child to us, that'll be great.
Make sure you check out Kofa. But no, it's brilliant. So obviously have you guys sponsoring the channel, and hopefully, like I say, we get some next future stars across to you as well. But Wes, we've had a little bit of a week off, obviously with Spurs, but we're going to jump straight back into it because obviously at the weekend we do have Palace. Now they're a little bit on a new manager bounce at the minute. So how do you kind of see this one going down?
This is going to be really, really interesting in terms of a tactical battle. We know that Ange is likely to play this sort of 4-3-3, and I anticipate we'll have, I believe as well, Udogie and Porro will be back. I
Potentially,
think
yeah.
they've been in training this week, so that'll be that'll be a massive bonus. Basuma probably in this position here as the sort of holding midfielder. Papsar playing as the 8, Madders as your 10, and then options up top, probably Son, Richarlison, Kulusevski, I would say, is the front three. But in terms of Palace and their new manager, Oliver Glasner, has come in. Really good result against Burnley, even though Burnley did go down to 10 men, and it did take them a while really to sort of break that down. But I think the real key and the main difference is that we're going to likely see now from Palace is the way they're going to set up. Glasner's very much, 3 at the back. He's taken that with him, started it off at, I believe his first job was Lask, which our Spurs fans will be familiar with because I think we've come up against them in Europa League matches in previous years. So he started with the 3 at the back. He took that to Frankfurt with him, and obviously they did really, really well in the Europa League. I think they beat West Ham a couple of years ago as well. So, but I think a big plus is apparently Mark Gay may not be available, and that's obviously going to be a huge blow for Palace. Places real emphasis though does Glasner on his wing backs really getting up and down the pitch, because he likes these two here, so sort of your number 7 and 11 in this instance here. So you would probably argue Elise and Eze, they're going to occupy more central spaces and be a little bit closer to the number 9, who I believe was Mateta on Saturday against Burnley, and I believe he did a really, really good job in terms of occupying the Burnley centre halves. But that's how Palace are going to really sort of set up. I think the wing back role in particular is going to really suit Tyreek Mitchell. I think Mitchell as an out and out fullback is okay. But I think now him having the license really to get forward and not necessarily worry too much about defending, I think it's going to really, really suit his game. I think actually, you're going to see a big difference in him. The new right back that they bought, I believe it's Moniz, Brazilian that they got from Belgian football in January. Again, another attack-minded sort of fullback anyway. So him playing as a wing back again would really suit that role. You're probably going to have Jefferson Lerma, maybe a Will Hughes. Adam Wharton has done really well since his move from Blackburn. And if anybody watched the show that we did, Holly, around Christmas time, you'll know that he was on my radar for Spurs to sign. So yeah, he's had a real good impact, and I think Palace fans can't believe that they've actually got him for how much they did, because they think he's probably worth about 50 million at this point. So yeah, it could be Wharton, Lerma. You've got Czech Decore potentially in there, Will Hughes as well. So yeah, I think we're going to see Palace set up completely differently this time compared to what we used to seeing under Woy Hodgson.
So, because obviously with that and the new manner of bounce, and obviously going into the way that Glasgow likes to set up, how do we kind of counter that, do you say? Is it the fact that we just don't concede on corners? Because that would be fabulous.
I mean, that would be a bonus. But I watched yesterday, and I encourage any Spurs fans watching as well, if you get the time between now and Saturday, to watch the Monday Night Football analysis that Jesse March did on Oliver Glasner. So when they are out of possession and they don't have the ball, you'll see very much a 5 at the back. But then if there is a turnover in possession, March did specify that, I'm going to get my lines back out again, Holly, because they were so good last week, that the wing backs are to basically just go and fly forwards and attack the spaces. So I think that's something that we've got to really be, wary of on Saturday, especially here where we'll have Porro and your doggy. Hopefully, if they play, that we know they're going to occupy those half spaces there, and we're going to try and stretch the pitch as often as we can. Obviously, trying to stretch that back 5, but I think on that transition, your doggy and Porro in particular really got to look out for the wing backs in particular flying forwards. As well, I think what we might need to look out for is how they sort of condense the pitch when they do have the ball. So it's all about, I won't have the capacity to draw this, I'm really sorry, but it's all about for them making sure that they are in contact with each other as a unit and as a team set up in their shape there. So they've got to be really compact in there, and not have too many big spaces in between. So if they lose the ball after trying to transition forwards, if they then lose the ball, then they can get round the ball in numbers, if that makes sense. So for example, if they've just lost it here, sloppy pass, you've got Elise here that can get round the ball. Wharton here, you've got that wing back there that might get interested at that point there. You've got potentially Lerma, who I think is going to have a real key role potentially in this Palace side. He might then look to step on to Maddison there. But as well, I think another key thing is if it breaks down centrally, again, it's that first pass forwards and direct almost straight away. So can, for example, Lerma potentially find Elise or Eze if they're available, and get into that. I think Jordan Ayew played on Saturday, and was a really good support act as well for Mateta. But I think again, Basuma, I would probably like to see Saar potentially a bit closer towards Basuma and supporting him there. But for example, if we're in this position here, we know Van der Ven and Romero are going to really squeeze the pitch and make it and condense it, so make life really difficult. So I don't know if we're going to go, and potentially we might see this sort of set up here with that. But I think the way that we're probably going to combat Palace has to be in these wider areas here. So I wouldn't say get rid of the inverted fullback, but if we are able to, can we create 2v1s out wide, and try and exploit their spaces out there? So I think Maddison in particular has got a real key role in distributing the ball wide quickly, to allow, whether it be Kulusevski, Werner, Son, even if Richarlison or plays out wide or Brennan Johnson plays out wide, isolate them early into 1v1 situations up against maybe a wing back or a wide centre back that perhaps won't want to go out into those wider areas, and then hopefully we can do something from there. But I think Palace are going to look to condense the pitch, be really compact, and then, as I say, with the midfielders, key detail, first pass forward from a Glasner team.
I think you've like analysed. I can't say the word properly. Analysed that really well, Wes. And I think, like you say, I think the key point for us is to move the ball quickly, because in recent weeks we haven't really seen that. And I think, like the way you've dissected it there, if we don't do that, we could be caught out very, very soon and early on in the game. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And like you say, we're on our A game and we are quick, and we can talk about hopefully winning the game. But I want to move on because obviously, Wes, at the weekends, to everybody's favouriteness, there was someone at the weekend that bottled things, and that was Pochettino. So is it Poch that's bottled it, or is it Chelsea once again who's lost another final?
Okay, so fallout from the game, it appears to me a bit of both in terms of fallout from the game. I caught extra time, and it was really strange because I saw one team in Liverpool that were sort of keen to basically get on with the game and try and win it, and Chelsea were just going through the motions. And in the state of the game, 0-0 cup final going into extra time, it's really dangerous. And obviously Poch then came out and said, look, we were trying to play for penalties and stuff like that, which I find really bizarre, because Liverpool brought on 3 teenagers who are probably all sitting their GCSEs this week or whatever. So, Liverpool aren't at their strongest. Why not take advantage of that and go for it? And I think that's the biggest thing for me from Poch's point of view. Like, why, if he's looking at it and analysing it and going, right, Liverpool aren't at their best. Obviously, they lost Gravenberch to an injury. I think Robertson went off. Nunes didn't play. Szoboszlai weren't playing, and all of this kind of stuff. So, again, looking at it, you're going, well, why don't we just go for it and take advantage? But then, having said that, I don't think the players on the pitch, from what I've seen of the Chelsea team, I don't think they really took responsibility for the game anyway. Again, from what I've seen, I didn't really see Chelsea create overly much. But then, having said that, from what I have seen, Kelleher has had a blinder. But it just felt like Chelsea had moments in the game which you would expect, but they didn't really do a lot with it. And then it gets to the point where, Endo's getting done for fraud because he's got 200 million sat in his pocket, bless him, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think, is it Poch potentially in terms of the setup, the game plan, all of that kind of stuff? But, it's not so much, he's not out there, with a slide rule ball through and, he's getting on the end of it and hitting it straight at Kelleher. Or blazing chances over the bar, or not defending properly. I mean, I think for the goal they went zonal anyway, which is, it's not my personal favourite. I think it creates too many grey areas for players, and it allows them to pass on the responsibility for somebody else by just going, "Weren't my man." And I think you see that definitely on the goal. So yeah, I think a little bit of Poch, but then again, I think sometimes we have to look at players and they've got to take some responsibility for what they're producing on the pitch. But having said that, it was nice to see him lose a final with that lot, because if he'd have won, I don't know how I'd have been feeling, because it still doesn't sit right with me that he is there, given the service and what he did for our football club. It just doesn't sit right. I know Spurs fans will probably go, well, that was then, this is now. We got Ange, we're going in the right direction. We're doing all of this. But yeah, I think, like I say, for me, from Poch, it would have killed me seeing him lift it. And it will kill me seeing him lift the trophy with that lot, because I hate him with a passion. So, but I was glad that Liverpool got the job done. So, yeah, that's my take on Chelsea losing their 6th consecutive final, but we won't hear anything about that too much because it's not Tottenham.
No, and apparently we're the bottlers, but there we go.
Yes,
But
yes.
no, it was nice. Like I say, I don't particularly like Liverpool, but on the other foot, I do not want to see Poch lifting a trophy with them, like you say. I just think that would have been a nail in the coffin for me. So it was very nice that obviously he didn't get to lift one. But yeah, it's another final they've lost, but obviously he was facing the man on the other side of the pitch that we're also going to delve into, and that is obviously Klopp. Now, he's not my favourite person, but I can understand from a coach's point of view that Klopp has done something magical at Liverpool, and it's very frustrating to say those kind of words. So, Wes, I'm going to let you fire away in terms of what Klopp has done for Liverpool and why they've been so successful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about old Jurgen the German with regards to what he has done at Liverpool, and really, I mean, he's revolutionised that football club. But from top to bottom, like the whole football club it's Klopp. Do you know what I mean? It's like that synonymous thing where, you know, his imprint is everywhere. But let me take you back, Holly, to 2015. It was a game in October, I believe, and it's Klopp's first game in charge at Liverpool, and he's facing Tottenham. And Klopp has been renowned for this, you know, term gegenpressing, which is a German term for counter pressing. So Klopp came in at Liverpool, first game, like I say, Tottenham away, and what he, through his research and his analysis, what he worked out was that Danny Rose, who was our left back at the time, was the worst player on the ball within our back line. So he set a trap for his players to go, right, every time Danny Rose gets the ball, go at him and really look to get on him and press him. So you almost saw a situation pretty much similar to this, in the sense of there was a bit of a swarm around Danny Rose whenever he got the ball. And I think that led to a lot of turnovers in possession. I think we actually drew the game with Liverpool. I want to say it was 1-1. But just to have that kind of foresight to recognise, okay, actually, yeah, this player isn't the greatest on the ball, and actually, if we can get onto them, you know, like I say, we can have a lot of turnovers with our possession, and then we can potentially go and do something. But I think Klopp, in particular, reinvented the Liverpool team multiple times, you could argue. So the first team that he got in, I think everybody's seen the graphic from BT Sport, and then, you know, that rebuilding that team and getting what he wanted, obviously the pace with Salah on one side, Mane on the other. You know, he's pretty much transformed Mo Salah into a world-class forward, who is now capable of bagging, you know, 20 odd goals a season, and it just making it light work. But I think the way he was able to make Liverpool fans believe again that they can win the biggest trophies in a similar way to what Poch did with us, and making us believe that we can win the biggest trophies. I think Klopp did it at Liverpool. The main difference, I would argue, between the two is Klopp got the job done.
I was waiting for you to say that.
So that's obviously the biggest difference, because Klopp's won it all. And what also I like about Jurgen Klopp is he's never been afraid to chuck a kid in. Like, never really been afraid to chuck a kid. Like, you look again, Sunday, he put Dan's up top, Neil Dan's son, which is making me feel really old because I remember watching Neil Dan's. You know, you look at somebody at right back like Trent, what he's done with him. Obviously, yeah, full back, but is now, you know, able to step into midfield. And yeah, if Trent receives the ball on the half turn with his passing ability, it's like an NFL quarterback, to be fair. You know, with that, you know, again, Trent's been out at the minute, but Connor Bradley coming in, he's been ace. You know, and loads of other players. I think he's given out quite a few debuts to younger players, but I think now, just in terms of what he's done from a coaching point of view, it's like, yeah, we've got to go after a specific player and win the ball really, really high up up the pitch, which he's probably adapted from Marcelo Bielsa and Pep Guardiola, because they're really, really big on it. But he sort of made it his thing, and he's really hot on transitions. Another thing that Klopp is hot on as well: midfielder dropping in to receive the ball. If they receive the ball with their basically their back to their sort of opposing goal here, get on their touch, because they can't really see what's around them. So I think you'll see a lot of the time, particularly when Liverpool was sort of at their height, that this sort of player here in the 4 or 6 position, getting on the ball, it's like, right, don't get right, lock onto them, don't let them turn, and almost force them back, and stuff like that. So those are the bits that I picked out probably from Jurgen. What's next for Liverpool? Is it Xabi Alonso? I don't know. I think obviously he's probably the prime candidate to take the job. He's doing some wicked stuff over at Leverkusen at the minute, and the way that he's got his team playing. I think I read a quote from somebody at Bayern Munich saying that he's got lucky with certain players. Well, no, he hasn't. He's just been clever in terms of how he's recruited them. I think that's probably the most obvious. But at the minute, Alonso's got his pick, I think, between Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, or staying at Leverkusen, which, to be fair, if you got those 4 as options, you're doing something all right, really, aren't you, as a manager? So, but no, I think Klopp's he's been good for the Premier League. He's given it something else, and I think his time at Liverpool, he's really taken to the fans, and the fans have obviously taken to him, and he is like the voice. So anything Jurgen says with that fan base, it goes. Like, okay, Jurgen's told me to behave. If they're playing Man United, right, I'm going to behave as a fan. Like, they hang off every word. And I think, like I say, he's done some unbelievable bits at Liverpool. Obviously, I was in Madrid for the Champions League final, and I think their in-game management that night was probably one of the best I've seen. In terms, right, we got 1-0 up. You're going to play the game at our tempo and our speed now, Tottenham. And I think they definitely learned from the year before, obviously losing to Real Madrid, Bale's goal and all of that. But no, like I say, it's been good to see what he's been like a little bit close and personal. The only downside from a Tottenham point of view is we had to beat them 4-1, and then they went and signed Alisson and Van Dijk, and we all know what happened next. And again, I was at that game and we absolutely tore them apart. Like, I couldn't believe it. I think Klopp at that moment realised, something's got to change here if we want to go to that next level. He's done that. And I think everybody will say, well, he's got like the world's most expensive, or one of the world's most expensive defenders in Virgil van Dijk, Alisson, up there in terms of transfer fees paid for a goalkeeper. But to be fair to him, I think on the whole, he's not overspent massively. Like, they've been very calculated in terms of the business that they've done. And I think now for him, he's just going, look, I've rebuilt this team once, twice. I don't think I can do it again. I don't think the funds are going to be there for Liverpool in his mind to be able to do it. And I think the board at Liverpool are sort of going, well, hold on a minute. You've done all of this with what you've done before. Why can't you do it again? He's going, look, this is what we're going to need to do if we want to, compete at the highest level. So I just think he's gone, do you know what? My time is up. I've done my job, and I'm going to probably leave now on a massive high, because, all the teams are going to rally. Well, the team's going to rally round and, try and make it a successful season just for Klopp, really.
No, and I think you're right. I think as much as I can't stand him, you are right. He has absolutely transformed that club. And like everything, I always like to bring it back to Tottenham before we end the show. And I'm hoping, do you think that possibly could be what Ange will be for us? Or do you think it's too soon to say that kind of question?
Listen, I think when any manager takes over your club, you want them to be in it for the long haul, and you want them to be there for a sustained period of time. I think, are we going to get it with Ange? I hope so. I really do. I think we had it to a certain degree with Poch. Obviously, the managers after Poch haven't lasted long enough. And I think we can all agree on that as Spurs fans. But I think with Ange, it's refreshing at the moment because he wants to be there. in the same way that Poch wanted to be at Spurs. So yeah, listen, I think it's one of them. If you give the manager certain tools, then they should be able to do their job. And if you don't have any interference from upstairs, let them get on with the job that you're paying them rather well to do. Then there shouldn't be too many issues. But yeah, like I say, we all want a manager that's going to be at your club for say 25 or 20 odd years, like Fergie and Wenger and all of that. But unfortunately, it's just not the way of the football world anymore, because we are all very impatient. Is the right word I'm going to use there? Impatient, because we want everything now. And I think even Poch mentioned it actually, and saying like, look, Liverpool had to wait a good period of time before they started to see the success for Klopp. So he's sort of begging for time, if you like, with his job, because obviously we all know the turnaround at Chelsea and what's happened there. So look, just give him a bit of time, and who knows what might happen.
And I think that's the thing. I think, like we said at the start of the season, if you told me your best player Harry Kane's left, you've got a new manager in. I know we talk about it all the time, but it's just mad to think how far along we potentially are in the project already. And I think obviously winning at Palace at home would be lovely to carry on in that positive kind of mentality, because I know there's a few fans at the moment are getting a bit annoyed at the fact that Ange is, I don't want to say one-dimensional, but it feels like fans are thinking he's only got one way to play, he's got no plan B. But I think again it's just very, very early days.
But then saying that, Holly, I think every top manager has one way of playing, and they make that, if they don't, for example, get a result, it's then right, how do we? So I think I've said it before, it's about making plan A better and not having plan B or plan C. It's about making plan A better. I think again, Bielsa is the main man with regards to that, because even we saw in his time at Leeds could be 4-0 down and they're still flying forwards with about 70 players, like they're just coming from everywhere, and you're like, what's going on here? So yeah, I think every top manager is stubborn, and these are my principles, this is my way of playing, and that's not going to change regardless of who we're playing. And yeah, I think it's interesting, because how many times have we seen in the past where we're playing City, right, 5 at the back to combat City, because they're that good and they stretch the pitch that so much that you're going to have to put an extra body at the back. Well, hold on a minute. What about us? What are we good at? Well, we're good at playing with a back four, and having midfielders dropping in, and a 10 supporting the number 9, and wingers staying high and wide and maybe coming into the pitch and all this. So yeah, I think they look at it and go, what have we got? What are our non-negotiables? What are our principles? And then we're going to go from there. So yeah, like I say, one way of playing, and it's about making plan A better.
I think that's a great way to counter everyone that's saying Ange needs a plan B. Like I say, just make plan A better, and then you ain't got to worry. But Wes, it's been great to dissect. I know tonight has been short, but it's been quite short and sweet, which has been good. And we've dissected a lot. So it's been nice. Before we go, another reminder, everyone, that this show is sponsored by, let me find the right tab, KOPP. Wes, give one more brief overview what KOPP is, just so everybody knows.
Okay, so it's Kickoff Football Academy Milton Keynes, or KOPP MK, football coaching business in the Milton Keynes area, Dele Alli country, as I always say. So we are there to help and support and guide and develop young boys and girls across the area. If they need any additional training, whether that be through their skills or through one-on-one sessions, through our academy sessions, and loads of other different bits and pieces as well. So if you are in the area, please feel free to get in touch with us to see how we can help and develop your child's game.
Love it. But no, Wes, it's been great. And now for my favourite part of the show, we get to have the Wes outro. So Wes, far away, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so Twitter at Wezo10, the unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account, but you all know that by now. So yeah, mainly tweeting all things about the best Belgian that's ever pulled on a Spurs shirt, because we've had a few. And then I'm also on Instagram at Wezo32, usually at a Spurs game. I will be in attendance on Saturday, as will you, Miss Agambar.
Oh yes.
So very much looking forward to that one. So yeah, like I say, I'm usually at a Spurs game somewhere up and down the country as well. I'm also on TikTok, Wezo 3_2. I think I've got that right. Anyway, I don't know. Still relatively new to me, TikTok. And yeah, I'm obviously Kickoff Football Academy or KOPP MK across your socials. So that's Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. And I know, Holly, you are trying to pressure me and push me into doing some little other football related videos. So who knows, I might jump on that in the next few weeks or so. So keep your eyes peeled for that, boys and girls.
Oh, I love it. Like I say, Wednesday show is going to be a thing every week now. We're going to try and make it a thing every week, and I'm going to try and appear every week. So make sure you tune in, obviously, next Wednesday for your tactical analysis and breakdown of the game and more. Monday, Holly's Hotspurs is back. Obviously, I had a break this week, but we're back live Mondays. Hopefully, dissect a win against Palace, and hopefully where I will not be talking about my drunk stories at the weekend, because I'm going to be eating more than chips this time. But yeah, hopefully there's 3 points, and until next time, come on, you Spurs.